Okay, for some of you guys who did not get to watch the full video, number one, we did one and two together. The directions say that a student is writing a report about the opossum. Read both sources and the directions that follow. So we're going to summarize what the source one is talking about, and then we're going to summarize what source two is talking about, and then we're going to answer the questions. Really quick, I want you guys to know that there are ways to practice eliminating, and you can eliminate by hitting the strike through button to completely take out an option, and you can undo it by, left clicking. So anyway, all right, so source one says the opossum faces many threats in its natural habitat. So threats are things that are dangerous to them or cause them harm. So they face a lot of things that cause them harm in their habitat, and habitat is where they live. So everything after this sentence here is extra detail about threats that are things that cause the opossum danger in their habitat. So the supporting detail afterwards is creatures on the ground, such as foxes, dogs, and snakes, will prey upon the opossum. So the threats in this sentence here is the foxes, the dogs, and the snakes. And prey upon, if you don't really know, is to hunt or kill for food. And then the next detail after that is birds such as the owl and the hawk hunt the opossum as well. So other threats to this animal are the owl and the hawk. Even humans are a threat to opossums. So another threat is the humans. Some people hunt and trap the opossum. So this is another detail going with humans being a threat. They hunt them and they trap them. Others accidentally hit them with their cars. So again, humans are a threat to the opossum because they hunt, they trap, and accidentally hit them with their cars. So you can kind of conclude that this whole entire paragraph, source one, is all about dangers and threats to the opossum. In source two, if again, in order for you to know what the whole entire paragraph is about, the first sentence pretty much tells you. So anyway, source two says, though usually not aggressive, and this is one of our vocabulary words, aggressive means violent or likely to attack. Uh, though not usually aggressive, the opossum will hiss, growl, and bare its teeth if it feels threatened. So it's saying that yes, the opossum is not aggressive, but in order to protect itself, or if it feels threatened, it's going to hiss, it's going to growl, and it's going to bare its teeth. And if you don't know what bare means it's going to show its teeth if it feels threatened. So everything after this main sentence is going to be about the opossum protecting itself when it feels threatened. Opossums are good climbers and they will quickly scale a tree if they have time. So they will scale a tree. Scale means to climb. They will climb a tree if they have time. So that's a way to get away when they feel threatened. The most common defense of the opossum, though, is playing dead. So, in order to protect itself, if it feels threatened, the most common way is to play dead. An opossum will lie on its side with its mouth open and tongue hanging out to fool a predator. So a predator is someone who is going to hunt, who is after the opossum because the opossum is the prey. So it will lay on its side. It will stick its mouth open or lay with its mouth open, and it will stick its tongue out to make the predator think that it is dead. So it wants to fool the predator. Some opossums will pretend to be dead for hours to trick their enemies into thinking they are not alive. So if the opossum is only, laying there for 3 minutes or so, it's not gonna fool the fool the enemy or the predator, uh, because the predator is gonna know that it's not really dead. So anyway, here's the directions. The directions are extremely important, so I'm going to highlight the directions. And it says the student took notes about information in the sources. Note which note correctly paraphrases or restates information in from both sources. So the key word here, and on the test they'll bold it. The key word here is both. So they want to know uh, which of these uses information from both of these sources and not just one. And I think we forgot to talk about what source 2 is talking about, and source 2 is talking about how it protects itself. So source 1 talks about, you know, when it's in danger. The second source talks about what it does, how it responds when it is in danger. So anyway, number one says, or A, option A says, the opossum has predators such as the owl and the hawk. Uh, the opossum has predators such as the owl and the hawk, so it often stays hidden. So yes, the hawk and the owl were predators, but it's not asking you which are predators. It's asking which information comes from both sources. So we did see this. Sorry, I didn't mean to click it. This is a, come on, undo. This is a source or piece of information from the passage, but this is only from uh, the first source. So we can go ahead and click that as no. Um, Foxes and dogs may threaten the opossum, and humans may hurt them by mistake. So yes, it talked about humans hitting them by mistake up here, and it also talked about dogs and foxes uh, threatening them. But it does. But again, if you look, that's only in source 1. So we're going to go ahead and strike that through. Uh, Option C says the opossum faces many dangers and has several ways of defending itself against threats. So the opossum faces many dangers. That's from source 1. It talked about all the dangers. Has several ways of defending itself. That's from source 2, because the way that it defends itself is by playing dead, by climbing up a tree, and hissing, showing its teeth, and growling. So this one is the best answer. And then animals that prey upon the opossum are usually frightened by its threatening noise, by the noises it makes. And I mean, we can infer this, we can assume this, we can make an educated guess about this, and that comes from only source 2. But we can officially, mark that as no. So C is the best answer. For number 2, if we read the passage, it says or the directions, it says a student is writing a research report about the hawksbill turtle for her science teacher. Read the trustworthy sources that the student found and the directions, and read the trustworthy sources that the student had found and the directions that follow. So source 1, the hawksbill turtle is found in the shallow coastal waters of the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. This turtle makes its home near reefs and sandy beaches. So reefs are clearly near the water. Even if you don't know what a reef is, the reef is near water, and it's also by sandy beaches. So it talks about where it lives with that sentence. The hawksbill turtle can grow to 45 inches in shell length and can live between 30 and 50 years. So this sentence is talking about how long it lives and how long its shell grows. The hawksbill turtle gets its unusual name because of the shape of its head. So this detail is talking about uh, how the hawksbill turtle gets its name, and then its face comes to a point which resembles the beak or bill of a hawk. So resemble means looks like. So its face comes to a point which looks like the bill or beak of a hawk. So hawk is a bird and bill is the beak. Whoops. Bill is the beak. So hawk, bird, the hawk bill, hawk beak, turtle. So a turtle that has a face that looks like the beak of a hawk is pretty much what this last sentence is saying, how it got its name. Okay, source 2, it says that the hawksbill turtle feeds on some typical items such as fish, shellfish, and sea urchins. If you don't know what sea urchins are, these are sea animals, of course. However, it also eats some quite unusual items as well. The hawksbill turtle has been known to eat highly toxic or poisonous sponges. So this sentence is telling us about more about what it feeds on. It eats sponges that are toxic and poisonous. In addition, it sometimes eats sponges that are filled with spicules, sharp, spiked objects that would be very dangerous for other animals to consume. This is one of our vocabulary words, which means eat. And spicules, if you don't know what that means, the definition is right after. Spicules are pretty much sharp, spiky objects. And these sharp, spiky objects are dangerous for other animals, but not for the hawksbill turtle. The hawksbill also eats the Portuguese man of war, which has a deadly sting for other animals. So the man of war, if you're not very familiar with the ocean and ocean animals, but the Portuguese man of war or man of war is a jellyfish. So this animal and jellyfish, we all know, are poisonous. They can sting people. They can sting animals. Um, and the hawksbill turtle can pretty much eat this. So if we look at source one was talking about where the hawksbill turtle lives, and about its physical characteristics. That means its body characteristics. And then source 2 talks more about what it eats, what it feeds on. So what it eats. So it says the student wants to include information from the sources in her report, but does not want to plagiarize the author's ideas from the sources. So plagiarize means you're not copying word for word, word for word. You're not using the exact wording of the author. And so it says here, read the paragraph from the student's report and then click on one sentence in the paragraph that is plagiarized. So when you're taking a test, mine highlights, and I think yours highlights too, but this tells me one sentence. So if you go sentence by sentence to see which one is plagiarized, you can figure out which one the person used word for word. So if we look at this first sentence, in the tropical waters of the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Ocean swims a very interesting creature. This was not plagiarized. It does at the top here say that she did mention the author, one of the authors in source 1, did mention Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, but this person only they used it in their own way. They gave their own flavor. So it's a tropical waters, and there's an interesting creature that lives in these waters. And then the next sentence pretty much adds detail to the first sentence and says if you don't know what that animal is, I'm telling you what the animal is. It's the hawksbill turtle. The third sentence, at first glance, it might not seem so unusual. So I did not see that in any of the sources, or it did say something about the animal being unusual, but it's not, you know, phrased word for word. After all, it's an average. After all, it's average size. It's an average size, and the only thing that is strange is its pointy head. So this was information from the text, but it's not plagiarized. The next one is, however, the hawksbill turtle has been known to eat highly toxic or poisonous sponges. If you remember, that is found here in the text. And if you look here, they have, however, the hawksbill turtle has been known to eat highly toxic or poisonous sponges, and both of them are exactly word for word. And the student just added, however. Even though you squeeze in one word, that is still technically plagiarizing, so we'll go ahead and click that. And then the last one is how somehow it digests them without any trouble. So yes, it does eat all of these different foods, um, and it is able to digest them or eat them, or break them down in their stomach without any problems. And so this sentence is the right answer. Going to number 3. It says a student is writing a research report about the positive effects of video gaming or video games on kids. Read the trustworthy sources the student found and the directions that follow. So going here to positive effects of video games on kids. So this is what the whole research project is about, positive effects. So positive effects are things that happen after playing video games and the good things that happen after kids play video games. So this is a positive report. Source 1 says, do you think that playing video games is good for kids? And this is the first sentence or topic sentence, and everything else that follows afterwards is going to be a detail about video games being good for kids. All right. So from the next sentence says, many scientists find that video games can actually make kids smarter. So this is a positive effect. Video games can make kids smarter. Some games might teach kids thinking skills that they might need in the future. So this is a positive thing. It helps teaches them things. In many video games, the skills needed to win use high level thinking. High level thinking is analyzing, evaluating, thinking deeply, kind of like those 2.3 point or 2.4.6 point questions that Miss Shine is always asking you guys. The next sentence says some of the mental skills improved by video games include following directions, problem solving, and fine motor skills. All right, so it's saying one of the positive effects is it helps kids follow directions. So if there's a task, the child is going to follow directions, using the video game. Problem solving. A lot of the time there's a problem and the kids have to solve it, and kids are pretty good at solving problems in a video game, and sometimes not so much in real life, but that's what we're working on, right? Fine motor skills is being able to use your hands in certain ways, and that's what video games do for kids. Video games can also improve the ability to make decisions quickly. So sometimes like something happens and you're able to make a split decision, and in a video game. And sometimes if you repeat the game and play the game over and over and over again, then you're really learning how to improve your decision making skills. People who have played people who have played action-based video games and computer games made decisions 25% faster than others while making fewer mistakes, according to the study from University of Rochester. So they're saying that kids who do play video games actually have an advantage over kids who do not play video games, and they're quicker than others in making decisions, and they make fewer mistakes. So this first source is talking about how there are positives to video games. It makes them smarter. Uh, it helps them with their thinking skills. It helps them, know high-level thinking. It helps them follow directions, problem solve, and with their fine motor skills. And it helps them make decisions quickly. And yeah, so those were the details from source one. Source two, video games make kids think faster. So that sounds like something from this first one. This first source also says something about video games making kids think faster. And if you remember when we had our essay about the cheating, a lot of kids said, "Oh, but this source already said this information." So as you see here, it's showing you that yeah, you're going to see information that you found from another source. Anyway, so the next sentence says action games use, let me highlight the whole sentence. Action games use clues that players must gather. Gather means collect, that they must gather through the game according to a study explained on the New Tech website. So again, similar to what we did in our cheating essay, this person said, according to a study on New Tech website, which is technically the source, this source said that action games use clues that players must collect all throughout the game. So the whole entire game, they're collecting clues, collecting clues, collecting clues. And when it's done, they'll probably have to make a decision or problem solve using all these clues. This next one says the kids who play video games are given unusual problems they must solve quickly. So there's unusual problems, problems that are not common, and kids are going to have to be able to solve them quickly after collecting all the clues that they've been collecting throughout the game. This activity can teach kids the value of using several different ideas to solve a problem. So this game is a good game, helps them solve problems. Also, kids who are able to pay attention to events in a video game are more likely to be able to pay attention to events in real life. So what they're saying is a lot of the video games that kids play are almost lifelike. And if they can pay attention to things that they see in a virtual world, then they can also pay attention to things in real life. And then some people even think that kids can release their anger while playing a game and can be more relaxed afterwards. So some people, they start to relax. They release anger. They're getting rid of their anger. And release, if I click on it, means to let go of, get rid of. So they get rid of this anger. They get rid of this anger when they're playing their video game. So anyway, now to the question or directions. It says the student wants to include information from the sources in the report, but does not want to plagiarize the author's ideas from the sources. Read the paragraph from the student's report. Click on one sentence in the paragraph that is plagiarized. So, again, if we highlight each one, looking at each of these sentences, there's like 4 sentences here. If we look at each of these sentences, it shows, you can find out which one is plagiarized. So the first one is, there is proof that video games may be good for kids. That is the child using their own words. Again, there's this first sentence that says, do you think that that there are benefits or good things for kids playing games? And then here's another one that says that games are good for kids. So the first one is not it. Some people feel that playing video games is harmful for kids. So this is not plagiarized. I'm trying to see where it says anything about, some people thinking so, but it looks like this might be their own detail. Some of the mental skills improved by video games include following directions, problem solving, and fine motor skills. So this seems like it was plagiarized because if I look here at this sentence, these are exactly the same. So that one is the plagiarized sentence. And guys, when you're answering these, please go back into the text and make sure, and don't just guess, make sure it's actually plagiarized, because when it's telling you to look for those sentences that's plagiarized, they're asking you to find the one that's word for word. And then the second sentence or last sentence is action games use clues that players must gather throughout the game according to a study explained by the Daily Tech website. Now, this one is word for word. That one comes from this source here, but it's not plagiarized because they have the quotation marks, which means they're saying this is, I'm giving credit to the person. So remember, if you're giving credit to the person and you're using those quotation marks, it's not technically plagiarizing. So the only one that's plagiarized is this one. So we'll go ahead and click it and click next. For number 4, it says a student is writing a report about skateboards. Read both sources and the directions that follow. So source 1 says skateboarding was first started in the 1950s. Trying to highlight these so you guys can see. Skateboarding was started in the 1950s when all across California surfers got the idea of trying to surf on the streets. So some of you guys will be learning information from these research or from any of these passages. But anyway, so we know that surfing is on water, so skateboarding is on the streets. So they're saying that it started in the 1950s and it came from California surfers who decided, hey, let's not skate on water, let's try to skate on the streets. The next sentence, it says no one really knows who made the first board. So that one's clear. No one knows who made it. The next one says, instead, it seems that several people came up with similar ideas at the same time. So not just one person came up with this idea, but other people all over were like, hey, let's try this. Hey, let's try this. Hey, let's try this. And all of them have the same idea at the same time. Several people have claimed to have invented the first or the skateboard first, but nothing was proven, and skateboarding remains a strange, spontaneous creation. So no one knows who created or invented this thing first. We do know that it has been created, and spontaneous creation means it was not planned. The next sentence, it says these first skateboarders started with wooden boxes or boards with roller skate wheels slapped on the bottom. So it started off as a basic invention. So the first skateboards had wooden boxes at the bottom, and then or boards like regular slabs of wood, and they put roller skate wheels on the bottom. So the design was pretty basic. It probably looked really horrible, and it more than likely didn't look like the skateboards you see today. It says, like you might imagine, a lot of people got hurt in the beginning. Again, this is started off as an idea. It's going to be flawed. And so, they have to kind of, redesign and redesign and redesign in order to get the perfect skateboard. Eventually, the boxes turned into planks, and eventually, companies were producing decks of pressed layers of wood, similar to skateboard decks of today. So the decks are talking about the slab of wood. Producing means making, so they eventually started making these planks of wood. So it's a skinny piece of wood, again, similar to the ones today. And then we have, during this time, skateboarding was seen as something to do for fun after surfing. So, you know, if they couldn't be on the water, let's say got dark at night, they can't continue to stay on the water. So the most likely thing was trying to keep balance on wheels to prepare them for the next day of surfing on water. And then it says today it's a popular sport among millions of people. So you might still see a lot of people on these skateboards. This first source is all about it being invented, how it got started. Um, and then we're going to now look at source two. Source two says the history of, and again, if you notice, this is taking a really long time to get through one paragraph. Any other time, I just read through it. But since I'm breaking it down just before we get to the questions, it makes it a lot easier to go back into the passage. So for this next one, I'm not going to quite give you the answer just yet. I'm going to give you guys time to think about whatever your answer is, and then we'll eliminate. So the history of skateboarding has decades of change, invention, and development. Change means it's changed. History of the skateboard has changed. The invention has changed, and the development, how it was created, has been changed. So a lot of things have changed about this skateboard. So this one, if we look into the first sentence, it's talking about the history. The first one's talking about when it first started. History, when it first started. History, when it first started. All right, so the next one. The beginning of the sport, as it is at the moment, started in the 1950s when surfing was at its peak. That means when it was at its highest, when it was super duper popular. So that sounds like a, a supporting detail from the first paragraph where it's talking about it started in the 1950s. And we can see that here. It first started in the 1950s. Though skateboarding has, let me get this whole sentence. Though skateboarding has had its share of negative reputations, it is among the most popular sports activities to date. So yeah, there's negative reputations about it. People get hurt, but it's still popular today. The next one says the very first skateboards first were wooden scooters made out of whatever parts people had access to. Access to means whatever they could come across, whatever they could get their hands on. So the first skateboards were wooden, like scooters, and they were made out of whatever people could get their hands on. So it could be metal, it could be wood, whatever it was. Most of them were wooden boards attached to roller skate wheels. Again, this is another similarity up here where it said they took the wooden boxes or boards and slapped wheels on the bottom. This next sentence says many of the very first skateboarders were surfers, and once they realized they could act like they were surfing on the street, skateboarding started its evolving history. So it's not just a piece of transportation. It was started off for surfers, and surfers wanted to again use this thing to be well balanced so that when they did get on back onto the water, it was easy. And they practiced more with the skateboard. And then also the roller derby skateboard was the primary retail board in 1959, adopted by mass-produced skateboards, which were inspired by skateboards. So the roller derby skateboard, this is a specific kind of skateboard, was the primary main selling kind of board in 1959, and it was used to produce skateboards and inspired by surfboards. So if you think of how a surfboard looks and how um, a skateboard looks, they're shaped pretty much the same. It's just the only thing is the skateboard has wheels and the other one does not. All right, so anyway, the student took notes on some information in the sources. It says which note correctly paraphrases or restates both sources. So again, remember the first one is about how it started. The second one's talking about the history. So whatever sentence we pick has to both talk about the history and have to talk about how it started. So I want you to go ahead and look at the options really quickly, and then we'll cross them out or eliminate. All right, so the first one says skateboarding has an interesting history in which no one knows who invented it. Now, I'm going to say that this one is not it because, yeah, in the first source it says that no, we don't know who invented it, but again, that doesn't talk about both sources. The second one says skateboards have gone through many physical changes and it evolved through history. So this one is only talking about source one because, again, it's talking about history. It changed through history. Evolved means change. It changed throughout history and it's gone through many physical uh, it's gone through many physical changes, and this could be it because it has gone through some physical changes here because it says,
okay, I found this on the web for change. The history evolved from change. Change the
because it has gone from planks to layers of wood here. So we could keep that one. Skateboarding is a popular sport, and now many people compete all over the world. That one doesn't. I mean, here at the end it says it's a popular sport among millions of people, and here it says, trying to think. It says popular sport, millions of people. I want to say it has something about all over the world here. It says it's popular here, and it says, but it doesn't say anything about it being all over the world. Eh, we can cross that out. And then the other one says skateboards are seen as negative when they first were invented, but still looked at negatively today. We will have to take that one out because neither one of them said it was negative. Well, yes, it did. It said that it has negative, or negative reputation, but it doesn't say anything about it being still negative today. So the best one here is B. For this one, this is pretty simple. It says a student is writing a research report about the National Zoological Park or National Zoo Park for the school. He found a trustworthy source. Read source one and the question that follows. Source one says the National Zoological Park was opened in Washington, D.C. in 1891. The Smithsonian Institute watches the National Zoo, which is home to over 2,000 kinds of animals. So for this sentence, it's talking about, it's pretty simple. It's just saying that the Smithsonian Institute, which is in a museum, um, it oversees or it supervises the National Zoo, and the Smithsonian Institute is the same place. Or wait, hold on. The Smithsonian Institute oversees the National Zoo. Okay, so the National Zoo, sorry, is the one that holds 2,000 kinds of animals. The zoo is free. The free zoo is located in Rock Creek Park, covers 163 acres of land, and welcomes visitors all over the world each year. So this sentence is simply saying it's free. It covers a whole bunch of land, and people, visitors from all over the world come every year. And then here are the directions. It says the student found another source. Click one sentence in source 2 that supports. Supports means it goes with the information supported in source 1. So again, if we look at each of these sentences, here's sentence 1, here's sentence 2, sentence 3, sentence 4, and sentence 5. So if you go piece by piece, it will tell you what we have. So again, let's look at the information up here. It tells you where it is, when it opened, and where. It tells you who is in charge of the zoo and how many animals there are. And then it tells you that it's free, how much land, and how many people come to visit. So here we go. So this one says the National Zoological Park welcomes over 2 million guests each year. So here we're talking about visitors and guests from all over the world. Here again, we have specifically 2 million people each year. So this could possibly be it. Let's look at the others. This says the zoo is funded by the U.S. government and is free to visit. Again, it talks about it being free here. So this could also be it. Currently, the zoo is hosting two giant two giant pandas and their cub. So it talks about what kind of animals they have. I could go ahead and can I not cross that out? I guess I cannot. All right. The next one is the pandas are from China and are on loan to the National Zoo for a 10-year period. So this is just more information about this, but nothing about up here because it doesn't really talk about specific animals. And then the last one, it says the Washington, D.C. Zoo is one of only 4 zoos in the country to house giant pandas. So we have sentence 3, 4, and 5 all talking about pandas. And it's specific information, specific details. So we can't say anything about that up here. But we can use the National Zoological Park welcomes over 2 million people, and that is the supporting detail of this last sentence here. And then the zoo is funded by the U.S. Government and is free to visit. So to support some of the information here, I would say that the welcomes over 2 million people because it gives specific information about the visitors from all over the world each year. So this sentence goes with this sentence. Oops. Goes with this sentence. So it supports it, and it just says not only is there just a whole bunch of visitors that come every year, it tells you specifically how many. It tells you 2 million people come every single year. So this supports this. for number 6. So this one is kind of a tough one. Again, it goes with the research. So it says that a student has made a plan for research. So he's about to research. He's got a plan. And it says, read the plan and follow the directions that follow. So this is his research plan. His topic is about the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is one of the great wonders of the world. It's actually in India, which we just learned about. The audience is his history class, so he's going to be talking to people who know about Taj Mahal because it's part of his history class. His purpose is to inform, so he wants to give information. And if you're giving information, it has to be factual. And then his research question is, how did people create such a grand is big, how did people create such a big building almost 500 years ago? So if his question is, how did they create this big building? One of these websites have to answer the question. So uh, the question says the student needs to find a credible or trustworthy source. Which website is the best source for the information needed for the report? And it says www.gotajmahal.com. And then this says, share my month-long journey to the Taj Mahal, the most beautiful place in the world. So I can tell you now that this one is not it. This one is like a blog type of resource, and it's going to have a lot of opinions in it, and it's not a credible or trustworthy source because this is where somebody can just write out as many um, um, opinions as they want. And I mean, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, but this is not to give opinions. This is to inform people. Okay. For the next one, it says www.aweinspiringindia.com/Taj Mahal. So this one says enjoying images are pictures, enjoying pictures of some of India's most beautiful locations, including the Taj Mahal. Now, this one is not it because it does not answer the question, how did people create this thing, this big building, so many years ago? So we can cross that one out. The next one is www.tajmahaltreasuresintact.gov.in, and this is like a India um, ending, and it says article by the Department of Arts and Culture that includes images of precious stones inlaid in the building. So this source is going to show pictures of stones that are put into the building. It still doesn't necessarily say how or answer the question how they built this thing. And the next one is www dot feats of architecture.com slash Taj Mahal. And this is the story of the construction. Construction means building. The story of the building of the Taj Mahal, from planning, when they planned it, to the laying of the immense, the huge white marble stones. So out of these two, there's only one that is going to really tell the people how it was created, and that is D. The next one, number 7. A student is writing a research project about the expeditions to the Arctic. Expeditions is a journey. So a research report about the journey to the Arctic. He found a print source that is trustworthy and accurate, that has accurate information. Read source 1 and the directions that follow. So source 1 says the Arctic is the northernmost point of our planet. So if the Earth was a ball, it's at the very top of our ball, or the planet. It is extreme. It is an extremely cold place, and consists means has um, a frozen ocean and frozen soil. So we know soil is the earth and the ground and the dirt and all that stuff. So the dirt is frozen and the ocean is frozen. So the Arctic we know is a cold place with frozen water and frozen soil. Yet amazingly, yet amazingly, some animals, such as the polar bear, walrus, and musk ox, find it a suitable place to live. Suitable means a good place to live. So even though this is a super cold place, the soil is frozen and the water is frozen. Animals like the polar bear can live there, the walrus can live there, and the musk ox can live there. It's a fine place for them to live, no problem. The next sentence says, men and women have been fascinated by the region for centuries. So people are intrigued by this place. They don't know exactly how people can live here, animals can live here and still survive. What is it like? How can animals live there? What else can be found in such a harsh environment? So when they're saying harsh, it's not necessarily saying it's a horrible place, but it is difficult to survive there because it's so cold. So then here's the next sentence. It says, as far back as the 1500s, people have set out on expeditions to explore the Arctic. So it's saying that people have gone on these journeys to explore and see what it's like. Some people have journeyed to search for new passageways to travel. So if there's not a pathway or easy path to follow, they're looking for new ways or paths that they can so they can travel. And it says others have set out to learn about the land and inhabitants. Inhabitants are in a that's not even highlighted, but this word inhabitants means people live there. So it says that people are going to this place to learn about the land and to learn about the people who live there and how they survive. And this next one is history records these trips, including famous voyages or trips, of people like John Muir in the 1800s and Richard Byrd in the 1900s. So these are people who have gone out to check out this place in the Arctic. So the student needs to find additional sources that contain means has, sources that have accurate information about this topic, which source has information that accurately supports the information in source one. So out of these sources here, which one supports all the information? So if we go back, this is talking about where it is, what the weather is like, and then here it's talking about how people have gone there to research and explore this area. So here we have www.Arctic Environment Fund. Fund means like to give money. So this site protects endangered animals and is a topic critical to scientists around the world. Care must be taken to preserve or save the beautiful animals of the Arctic. Click here to discover ways that you can help. Here we can go ahead and cross that out because it's not asking how to save. It's just asking about trips. If I can highlight this, it's asking about trips to the Arctic, not how to save animals. So number for A is wrong. www.myarcticlife.com. The culture, the climate, the cold. Is it survivable? About how about for the entire year? For me, it was click here to read my online diary of 365 days of inhospitable Arctic Circle, of the inhospitable Arctic Circle. Learn more about how it takes one person to survive. Again, it's not wanting to know whether someone survived. And again, this source is a blog, and it's talking about someone's life and their journey there. I mean, it is an expedition, but it's not credible, so we can't use that. Here it says www.arctictimeline.com. This is over the years, thousands of explorers have set out to investigate the Arctic, read details of many of those that many of those trips at the site, and compare the quests of different travelers who um, through their interactive timeline. So this one's going over thousands of explorers, and explorers are people who do expeditions. So that could possibly be it. And then let's look at the last one, www.coldarcticfun.com. Traveling by ship through a frozen ocean is typically impossible. Traveling on the top of an ocean, however, with an experienced pack of dogs is a memorable way to go. Ride along with 6 friends on their exciting journey in the latest adventure by Vivian Ellsworth. So this one is a story, and it's not going to have facts, especially for a research report. So we're going to have to cross that one out. And it looks like the timeline, Arctic timeline, is going to be the best one because it's going to talk about explorers. And if it's a timeline, it's factual, it's not fake, it's not fictional, it's pretty much non-fictional. So the Arctic timeline is not is sorry the right answer. All right, number 8. A student is writing a research report about Amelia Earhart. She has found a print source that is trustworthy and has accurate information. Read source 1 and the directions that follow. So here's source 1. Amelia Earhart set many records as a pilot. If you don't know what a pilot is, it's a person who flies a plane. So Amelia Earhart set many records as a pilot. One of her most famous records was a 15-hour flight between North America and Europe. So from North America to Europe, she had 15 hours to fly her most famous flight. The flight proved to be very difficult. So when she flew this 15 hours, it was a struggle. It wasn't an easy walk in the park. It wasn't easy peasy lemon squeezy. Earhart struggled with fog, ice on the plane, and equipment problems. So if she's on a 15-hour flight in the fog, she's not going to be able to see very well. Ice on the plane is not going to be good for her because it could damage her equipment. And then she had equipment problems, which means she might have had engine problems, problems with the wings, problem with the wheels, problem with something for 15 whole hours. Still, on May 21st, 1932, she landed safely in a farm field in Ireland. Ireland is in the UK, and UK is British, and Britain is in Europe. So she landed there in Ireland. And with this flight, Amelia Earhart became the first woman to fly solo. Solo means alone, by herself. She was the first to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. And in the following months, the nation and the world celebrated her triumph. Triumph is her victory. So in the directions, it says the student needs to find additional sources that contain accurate information about her topic, and her topic is about Amelia Earhart. Which sources contain information that accurately supports the information in source 1? So for number 1, wait, let me see here. Okay, so which source? We're only looking for one. Medals, honors, and a parade for Air Pioneer Earhart, an article on a leading newspaper from 1932. So this is it will have information. So it's going to have her medals, her honors, achievements, and a parade for her. Amelia Earhart's Trail in the Sky, a video game that simulates Amelia Earhart's 1921 flight across uh, the Atlantic Ocean. So this is a video game is not going to have 100% accurate information. So we can go ahead and cross that out. And again, she's doing a report, and you can't, video game is not trustworthy. Yeah, it will give information, but it's not trustworthy. Pilot Amelia Earhart, www.flight.org, blog.earhart. Now, I don't know if you see this word blog right here, but that word there is a key that lets you know that this is not credible, because again, it's going to have a whole bunch of a person's opinions. And it says, I think that Amelia Earhart was one of the greatest pilots, which is an opinion word. And then there are several reasons why she was a fantastic pilot. Again, fantastic is an opinion word. So we can cross all of that out. Amelia Earhart's Cannery, www.famousplaces.org, Earhart. So this one says Amelia Earhart's first plane was a bright yellow Kenner Airster plane that she named the Canary. She flew this plane to the height of 14,000 feet. So if we're doing a report on a trustworthy and accurate information, only one of these will be the best choice. So, So one we have a newspaper, and then the other one we have a website. And again, it's talking about her first plane. And we want to give a research report about Amelia Earhart. So the best one out of these would have to be A, simply because um, it was in 1932 that it all happened. So it's going to have uh, pretty much like fresh information that's available to us today. All right, so number 9, I'm going to stop here, and then I'll have to do part 2 so that I don't, you know, overload you guys. But this last one says, a student is writing, let me highlight it. A student is writing a research report about bats. Read the sentences from this report, from his report, and the directions that follow. So the first sentence is from his report. It says, bats can hunt in the dark because they have an unusual ability called echolocation. And echolocation means they can find or locate things using their echo. And oh, there it is. The sentence afterwards says, echolocation works through sound. The sound of the echo. And then it says bats make sounds with their mouths and noses. So I don't know if you guys have, when you guys blow your nose, it makes a sound. Also, when you sneeze, it makes a sound. So your nose makes a sound and your mouth makes a sound. So bats can make sounds with their mouths and their noses. The next sentence says the sound waves travel. So sound waves are like, I don't know if you've ever like hit a piece of or hit water, and then it makes those little ripples. So those little ripples are like waves from impact or something hitting it. So that's the same thing in air. Is that same thing happens is when someone makes a noise, it makes these little ripples in the air that you can't really see, but you can feel and you can hear it. Here it says when the sound waves hit objects, they create echoes and bounce back to the bat. So those little ripples that you see in the water, again, it happens in the air. So it's sound waves. We call them sound waves. It hits the object, so it might like hit the wall or hit the floor, and then it bounces back and it comes right back to the bat. By listening, let me get that. By listening to the echoes, a bat can tell an object's shape, size, and location. So again, it's getting information about the object after it's made its call. So after it's made its call, it can tell what shape it is, what it looks might look like, its size, if it's large, if it's small, and its location, if it's to the left or to the right, or directly in front of them, or above them, or below them. And then using echolocation, many bats can find prey as tiny as mosquitoes in the dark. That's pretty amazing that an animal can do this. And again, a mosquito is super small, and if it can locate a small little mosquito in the dark, then that's pretty talented. Um, anyway, so this one says choose two sources that would most likely give the student more information for the paragraph from his report. So the person can look at a magazine article titled "The Decline of the Bat Population." So this would only talk about how the bats, like there's less bats than there were before. Decline means like a shorten or a lessening or a reduction. The second one is a chapter called "How Bats Find Food" in the book Night Animals and What They Do. Well, first off, the first sentence in here is saying that it hunts in the dark, and for echolocation, echolocation is how it pretty much hunts for food. So this would be one. Another one is the Encyclopedia of the Animal Behavior.org echolocation. Echolocation is an unusual ability in the animal world. Both dolphins and bat use it to locate objects. I would go ahead and check that. Again, I'm going down the line, so if I need to uncheck it, I can. But I will definitely go ahead and take that off because I know for a fact that one's not it. www.cavelovers.com stories bats. Part of the thrill of caving is not knowing what you'll find in the cave. Last weekend, when our group went caving, we were amazed to discover a bat colony. So this is not information you would include in a research report because again, you want facts and information. And this one's again similar to a blog, like someone just telling a story. This one, www.funkidexperiments.com, sound echolocation. Why do empty rooms echo, but rooms that are full of furniture do not? What happens to sound waves during an echo? This experiment helps the kids understand echoes. So again, for a research project, this one's not necessarily appropriate. Helpful, interesting, not necessarily for a research project. And then this one is www.daddyaboutbats.com. Are you a bat fan? Take this online quiz to see how many facts you know about this special creature. Find out why bats sleep upside down, or view video clips of bats in movies. So for a research project, a chapter in a book would be good because it's again talking about an animal looking for prey in the dark. And then the second one is an encyclopedia, um, and it has the org at the back, but not all the time will org be a credible source. But yeah, so those two are the best choices.